Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Chase Andruzzi will lead us in the pledge.
Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a full quorum. Are there any conflicts of interest?
No.
Nope.
All right, moving on to the approval of the minutes for October 15th. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes
I'll second.
for October
Oh,
15th. Sorry.
excuse me. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item 4.1, review and consider approval of for a conditional use permit amendment for Game Haven.
Good evening. So this is a simple request, more or less. So there's a couple of considerations we're looking at in terms of amending the conditional use. First is for the building elevations, and then second is for a change of use. Oops, I gotta turn this on. So this is in the Anthem commercial area, just on the north side of the Anthem commercial. The Game Haven site, so it encompasses two buildings. There's the main Game Haven building, and then there's this event building called the Enchanted Event Center now, I believe. The site has been fully developed, and as part of that process, once everything is completed and done, we go out and do a zoning inspection to make sure that the plans coordinate with what was actually constructed. During that zoning inspection, there were several changes to the building based off of the stamped and approved plans that are before you here. So because of the number of changes and the change of use, we felt it appropriate to come back before the commission to have these elevations reapproved and have the use approved as well. The applicant has received a letter from the master developer of the site, the Anthem commercial site, stating their approval of the changes in the building elevations. So as we go through this, I'm just going to show some of the elevations and with the changes to them and pictures of the actual building. So this is the main Game Haven building. This is the one furthest to the north. It faces directly south. So you can see the approved plan on the left, and then what is being proposed and what is constructed. There's not a lot of, it may not look like there's a lot of changes, but because of the number of changes, we did feel, like there was a significant change to the overall building. Anyways, that's the front. This is the east-facing side. You can see that there were some windows that were removed from the approved elevations to what was constructed. On the rear, same thing, elevation. There were windows that were removed from that side of the building as well. And also on the west side of the building, those windows have been removed, as you can see. The roof structure is very different than what was being proposed. There are some of those metal awnings above some of the windows that have been changed or not been installed. And then this is moving to the building on the faces, well, it's on the east side of the property, right? This is that events building. Now, it was proposed initially as a retail building, but it has been converted into an events building, which is a conditional use, which is why it's before you again today. But as you can see from the building elevations that were approved, some minor modifications in terms of where those awnings were installed or not installed, building windows that have been added. In this elevation, one of the main windows was actually removed. As you can see, that window on the right side of the building has been completely removed. Reasoning for that is because that's where the bathrooms are, and that makes good sense to not have a window there. But again, things that we could have and should have looked at through the approval process at planning commission time. This is the south elevation. As you can see that there was a drive-in window that was supposed to be installed there. That has gone away. Obviously, the use of our event center doesn't need or require a drive-in window or a drive-through window. Some of the material was installed differently. A lot of the siding was supposed to be installed vertically and has been installed horizontally. And then this is the front of the building. As you can see, some of those metal awnings, typically those are installed between the doors and the transom. In this instance, those awnings have been moved above the transom windows, not as shown in the approved plans. Anyway, so that is kind of the elevation side of the story. The other side of the story is the changing use. So when it was approved, it was a retail building. It is now a fully event center. It's very well done on the interior. They had a open house last night. We're excited to see the use, but just in terms of consideration, there's a modification or a discrepancy in what's required parking for the event center versus the retail stores. However, that being said, there are 218 stalls in that direct vicinity. So in this area, there is a shared parking arrangement for all of those properties, which means that any use can park on any of those sites. So our recommendation is to just have the applicant provide a parking management plan so they can show kind of how each use ebbs and flows to make sure that there will be adequate parking for all of those uses as they're taking place on the site. There's also a couple of vacant properties that haven't been developed yet that will provide some additional parking once those get installed. So that is the third condition did not get into the report, but that's something that we noticed from the time of the report till today. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer what I can. The applicant is also here. So.
I just had one quick one. So to confirm, and I think the changes were made after the permitted drawings had been approved.
Correct. So yeah, we provided them the stamp plans, and then the alterations were made after the stamp plans were approved by the city.
Okay.
What is the capacity for the event center?
I'm not sure. 500. Wow. The applicant could probably answer that better. 96. I think on the approved plans, it had some numbers on it as well. So, but like I said, they can probably answer that better than I can. Any other questions for me?
It just, one more, sorry.
No, you're good.
It just kind of feels like we were sold one product and we're receiving a different product. And I know that in essence, structurally and use-wise and all that, we're fairly equal, but what can the city do in the future to prevent these kinds of changes without the owners coming back to the city and saying, hey, look, things have changed and we'd like to make some modifications? They shouldn't just be able to do it and then come in, or get caught and then come in and ask forgiveness. So,
as I mentioned in our earlier meeting, one of the things, this has stemmed a lot of conversation between us and the building department. We don't currently have a zoning inspector that goes out regularly, and because of, we're kind of short-staffed as it is, especially missing a planner right now. But we don't have the bandwidth to go out and inspect every building as it's constructed through all the different phases of construction. Our building inspectors will go out several times and inspect different phases of construction, but they're largely looking at building safety issues, and not always are they pulling up plans and making sure that they're doing this the way that the Planning Commission has proposed or stated. But again, in conversations with our building department, they are going to try to start taking a closer look at those elements, and providing some feedback to the planning department as those inspections take place through the construction of the building. Another thing that we've talked about doing and we'll probably implement as well is just making it, when things come before the commission anyway. So if for a permitted use, they wouldn't have any kind of letter of approval. It'd just be, yeah, you're permitted to go here, here's your, you know, your site plan, and nothing comes before a city body. But for things that come before a city body, like a conditional use or something like that, we can put requirements on there that no changes to the elevations be made without, you know, the same way we do with our landscaping. You know, no changes can be made without the approval of the architect and the city. So those are going to be things that we're going to try to make a little more clear through that process to avoid, you know, this kind of situation. Another thing that I didn't mention in the presentation, but we are, as another condition of approval, to still provide some interest in those elevations where the windows have been removed, where we're requesting or requiring that spandrel glass be put up in those areas where the windows have been removed, to at least provide that aesthetic. Any other questions? Daryl, did I answer your question okay?
You did. Sounds like as a city, as a planning group, we've learned a lesson here, and you're going to implement some corrective actions.
And by and large, you know, most of our partners, like they'll have, you know, we'll see a minor modification or variation in plans to construction, and things always change. You know, when during construction things come up that are not anticipated or thought through or whatever, and we understand that. So we're trying to be flexible and understanding with our development partners as much as we can.
But on the flip side, they need to be aware of major changes too and come to you with those changes also.
Correct,
And be a partner, not just do it without.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of our partners come before us, and you know, when they've made changes, they say, hey, they'll come to the planning department and say, because of this issue, we're gonna need to make this change, and we've worked through that process to make sure that they're still in compliance with what was approved as they move through their processes.
Exactly, yeah. Get it approved before it's done.
Commissioners, if I may, I think, so the administration is overseeing land use development in a pretty typical fashion. Nothing that we've been doing is all that different than what Clint or I have experienced in other cities. But this type of modification during the course of construction, I think, has been unusual based on our past experience. And as I mentioned in the previous meeting, we've all have seen some pretty significant events that have been changing the culture of development, right? Think about the changes that we've witnessed, even just stemming from COVID. Just rapid changes in the marketplace. Supply chain issues. Now, we're not dealing with that as much today, but we've seen a lot of pressure on development. And so we're making adjustments for the culture of this community, but again, it's not that we haven't been applying good practices, but it's just not been enough to keep up with the rapid growth. And I think some of these unique impacts that our development partners are having to adjust to in the marketplace.
I wonder if there's an opportunity for a third party, you know, oversight to help you guys, because you are work so thin. If our development partners are required to have a third party to make sure. I know it costs, but it wouldn't be a cost to the city. I recognize that, but that may encourage them to not be making these changes as well. So,
But like I said, we'll be doing more to communicate more loudly about this issue, but yeah.
Michael, is there a time when legal recourse is appropriate, or withholding a bond or a business license or something like that?
Currently, we can do a bond for occupancy under certain conditions, certain things would be appropriate. But generally, we're only bonding for public improvements these days. So
Okay.
most private improvements are not going to have a bond for completion. Yeah.
And we couldn't withhold a business license or a certificate of occupancy unless the building was unsafe?
We did a temporary C of O, which was appropriate in this situation. And they've been very cooperative once we've explained to them what the concern was. And of course, they're here to be able to answer any of your questions tonight, so.
Thank you. Okay, any more comments for Clint? All right, if the applicant wants to offer anything else, please state your name. Names, thank you.
Hi, thanks for
that.
having us. I'm Troy Nord, I'm with CSM Construction, I'm the builder. If I could, just for a minute, I feel like I got thrown under the bus just a little bit. I've been building for 35 years, hundreds of millions of dollars, mostly in the state. This isn't my first rodeo by any stretch. Had I known that the exterior elevations needed to be so specific, then we would have been upfront with that. This isn't something I tried to pull the wool over anyone's eyes or get away with, as some have said. That's not at all the case. Like, we're straight up rule followers, right? And like I say, never have I been held to this specific standard. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing, because I think it's important that you get what is expected, right? And so to speak a little bit to what you were saying about how do we fix this in the future, I think a little education goes a long way. Whether that happens up front in the meetings before we get our building permits, or whether it's even just a simple stamp, a red stamp on the plans that says, hey, you know, any changes to the exterior, any of the elevations that change need to go through planning, would have helped us immensely. You know, we didn't do any of this hoping that we'd get away with it. We were just doing what we thought looked the best, and it didn't seem like any of this was a big enough change to waste anyone's time with. Obviously, we were wrong, and that's on us, that's on me, and I'll take that all day long. And so I appreciate the conversation that we're having, because I think if we all leave this and we find ways to make everything better, whether that's my job or your job, when it's a win. The only thing I would discuss is on this item number 2, where those windows are shown. Actually, the floor plans don't show those windows in there. They were just shown on the elevations. They were supposed to be removed by the architect, and it was an oversight. That room where those go is a storage room. It's filled with shelving. And so it doesn't make a lot of sense to put those in there from a use case. It's also the very back dark corner of the building. I mean, that north elevation, it's literally 15 feet to a 10-foot tall or a 12-foot tall cinder block wall. So there's no reason for light to be emitted. There's no reason for anyone to be looking out. If anything, it becomes a little bit of a safety issue, because that's the first place people are going to break a window. It's the drive-through right there. It's just not a place that is a great place for windows. Other than that, I think that we're on board with just about everything that's been said today. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Clint, do you mind showing us what what that glass looks like?
Yeah, and just to be clear, so we're not requiring windows to be installed back into them, but just this spandrel glass, which is kind of a faux glass installation, right? Okay. So, for example, I think it's mostly on the main building. Right there. So in this building here, on that top left image where you can see those 3 windows on the bottom floor.
Where the car is?
Yeah, where the car is. So, and then on the bottom image, those aren't installed. So just installing spandrel glass there. These ones on the back facing the north, I agree with the contractor that probably doesn't do a lot of use. These ones on the side obviously probably can't be installed because of the utility panel that's there. But there were 3 spandrel glass windows just on the right side of the building, underneath that. Yeah. Anyways, they were shown on the building plans. They're not shown here, but they were shown on the plans that were approved. So there would just be probably just those 3. So the 3 windows on this elevation, and then 3 windows on this elevation that would be just spandrel glass installation.
I'm not seeing maybe I didn't see it. I see the one by the car. I didn't see the
Right.
See that one.
So these are the plans that were approved on the, these are the plans that were approved by the commission. There was another set of plans that were approved during the time of construction that showed those spandrel glass windows on this one.
Where are you looking at? I'm not seeing them. The difference
Does look
between the
same.
approved
So
and
I'm
proposed.
saying that the spandrel glass windows on this elevation are not showing.
Oh.
But they showed on the on the plans that were approved as part of the building permit.
Where would they be, Clint?
They would be on the right-hand side of the building.
On the lower.
Where you have that darker window pop out.
D5
There's
or
3
whatever.
windows underneath that darker window pop out.
So kind of in that D5 note.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you say spandrel glass, it's not actual
Not an
cutting in the windows or anything like that. It's just a
window
faux window. It just looks like it's, okay.
Right.
Gotcha. You don't have to do anything
Doesn't need a
structurally
function,
to it or
there's a
anything.
green
Okay.
light, just provides
Just
entrance to the
provide that
elevation of the
aesthetic.
building.
Gotcha.
Just to break up those faces.
Yep.
Would you suggest 4, since there's 4 windows on the other side?
There was just 3 shown on the elevations.
Okay.
Right there.
Right, but on the left side, there's 4, and I just, for balance, for symmetry, I just was wondering if 4 would look better.
I think we're okay with 3.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you a question? I don't know, I do commercial construction too, so I get that you do architecture too, so we try to do it as close as the plans are, but the plans change sometimes. Like, as a city, do we have something specific that says this is how much you can't change, can change?
Not necessarily, but I think that the number of elements that were changed from the time of building, from the time that they were approved to the time they were constructed, like I said, if it would have been 1 or 2 elements that would have changed, I don't think we would be back here. But because of the kind of the laundry list of items that were changed on each elevation, I think that became a substantial change from what was approved.
Okay. I don't know, for me, I guess I kind of feel like as a city, we need to define that so that, we have, it can be like, hey, you changed 3 elements, you know what I mean? So it's not like, send it kind of subjective to, that was too much or not enough, or, does that make
Having a
sense?
measure would be better, correct.
Yeah.
But we approved the top one, top left.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what we should be getting.
So a lot more
You know,
glass in
does
the
that make sense
center.
what I'm trying to say? Like, you changed like 2 materials that weren't approved, or,
We can,
so that,
we can
it's kind of
explore
tricky
that.
though.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that's almost more of a discussion for at the end of the meeting, because on the
Yeah,
specific
true.
issue, it's not part of the specific issue.
We will say again that this was in an MDA that had a specific design approval.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to follow that agreement, right? Like, what were to happen if somebody were to say down the road, like, why wasn't it built according to plan? And we just washed our hands of it, right? We at least need to, make a record of it.
Yep.
And then make some administrative decision to accept it or discuss how do we modify, how do we find a common ground?
Which is why, we're just talking about bolting glass onto a building.
Yeah.
Not cutting anything in. So I don't see,
It's not a
Me-
structural modification, it's
to
just
me, I don't see it being
aesthetic.
Yeah,
a great feature, but it's going to be something that seems like we're at least putting on some
it's
requirements.
attached to the exterior.
Could we put something else there, though? I wonder if there could be some sort of landscaping in front of that to kind of break up all of the,
There is landscaping there.
yeah.
I think you're talking something vertical, like a
Hasn't grown
trellis
in
or
yet.
something.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, something different, like if you're thinking about
trellis.
Mountain View Village where they have the trellis or something along those lines. I don't know if there's other options that you guys think that we could do. I don't know I know that you're not exactly fond of the option that we're giving you, but are there other ideas that we could think of as a commission to?
Some other architectural
Yeah.
element or,
Yeah, if we're gonna
Yeah.
go off script, let's go crazy.
Not too crazy.
Well, something that,
And the conditional
Yeah.
use, so the conditional use standards do have an element, so it talks about the architectural quality, integrity of surrounding properties, right? So in this instance, where the building wasn't constructed to what the architectural qualities were, where elements were removed or, taken out, we're just, we felt like the simple requirement of putting up a spandrel glass to mimic that window, yeah, would meet that architectural requirement.
And I think we should stay consistent with what we were aligning. I agree with you, But I feel like that starts to stretch outside of
Yeah.
a new normal, so.
Well, just, by the way, it looks nice. We appreciate what you've done out here, and it looks good, and we appreciate it for sure. We just want to make sure it's what was agreed upon. So we appreciate your efforts, for sure.
Well, and I agree. Like I say, it was never our intent to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. So, yeah, you know, we'll honor your recommendation.
Yeah, we don't want windows in bathrooms. We understand. So, we understand that. Yeah, so, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I do have a question for the builder.
Yeah.
Did you resubmit plans after those changes were made?
Yeah, so after Clint inspected it the first time, we came back through, had the architect redraw it as it is, and that's what this bottom left is.
That's what the revised proposed one is,
And those are
yeah.
the plans you're seeing today. So nothing was resubmitted before that point.
Okay, so you didn't resubmit the plans to the building department?
No, nothing structural changed. Yeah, nothing code-wise changed.
What they're proposing matches with the building, so what they're proposing is what has been constructed.
Sure, sure.
That's been approved by the building
Okay,
department.
okay.
It's almost like the stuff we approve needs to be attached to the building permit, in my mind,
Right.
in the future.
So I think the major concern, we don't think that you try to pull the wool over anyone's eyes at all. Just want to be clear on that. Things happen, things change. I just got back from a site visit where we just kind of reworked an entire design for no reason at all. But, so I understand that things happen. At least in this instance, especially where all the glazing had been removed, that's at the pedestrian scale. So instead of having some kind of pedestrian, elements, those have all been pushed up high, and so you have blank wall basically at the pedestrian level. And so if we could do something, whether it's landscaping or, I don't even know if spandrel glass is a remedy to that because it's fake glass. But having some kind of landscaping that kind of softens that pedestrian scale, I think definitely would work well. So if you guys are willing to work with the city to
Absolutely.
accomplish those sort of things, I think that's very
That
beneficial.
was what my picture in my mind, and if this is garbage, please tell me. I have thick skin. These guys tell me all the time. If we did trellises that were about the same form or shape as those windows were, right? Like maybe a metal frame with like a metal grid in it of some sort that a vine or something could climb up over time. That was kind of my idea. Like I say, if it's garbage, that's fine.
So a like element?
I like that, though. I think that's a good suggestion.
Replace it with a like element that,
I like it.
okay.
Yeah.
So I think we could just modify that condition to say spandrel grass or a like landscape element tied to the building.
Yeah,
Seems reasonable to me.
sounds good.
Sound like a motion? No, I'm kidding.
If everybody's ready, I'm ready to make before.
No, this is good discussion.
Are there any more questions for the applicant or discussion? And if not, a motion?
Well, maybe I'll just make it quick. I think, Adam, that's not a bad idea, just have a like element, so it doesn't feel bolted on or an afterthought.
Yeah.
Can somebody just flip it so I can see the recommendations so I can just edit it?
slides. You can go to the last slide of this. There we go.
Now, the windows are
All right.
a few different colors, so that'd be another recommendation, I would think. If that's the route we go, let's make sure those frames are powder coated the same color that the windows would have been, just to kind of keep the theme the same.
All right. I would like to make approval of item 4.1 with staff's 3 recommendations with an alteration to number 2 to install spandrel glass with powder-coated framing or powder-coated landscape feature that matches the same size on the Game Haven main building as shown on the building permits and on the west elevation where the windows have been removed.
I'll second.
I would say west and east.
I was just tying it to the building, west and,
Oh, okay.
west and south, I think it is.
South and west, yeah, corner.
Yeah, south and west corners.
Okay.
I'll second.
That other one faces the liquor store.
Okay, so we have a motion by Adam, a second by Brody. Andy?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
And Brody?
Yes.
So that was approved. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, item 5.1, review and consider a recommendation to the city council to amend the Panorama Master Development Agreement.
As I mentioned in the staff meeting, the applicant Jason Dreese is here tonight, and he will address the specific points of this amendment. I will just kind of cover, just to clarify what the Planning Commission's role and what the staff's recommendation is on this proposed amendment. This is a little bit unique in that you are making a recommendation to the City Council, but it was determined by city staff that a public hearing was not noticed because it wasn't affecting any of the, essentially the baseline zoning regulations that were approved as part of this MDA. But traditionally, our City Council has asked for the input of the Planning Commission when considering these types of amendments to the MDA. So your role is to review and consider the proposal. We've given you materials in your packet. And then again, the applicant will further explain some of the details of the proposal, discuss the amendments, and consider any alternatives, such as suggested in the staff report, and then forward a recommendation to the City Council for decision. As you know, this is the general vicinity of this project, this near the South Hills in the city. This is the development plan that was approved as part of this Panorama project. And it's also within context of two other major development proposals, the South Hills MDA and also the Rosecrest MDA. And so those three developers are very much working in concert with each other as they are working to forward and advance the infrastructure within this area of the city. So these are the elements of the proposal. We're looking at modifying the boundaries of the MDA, the legal boundaries, but it doesn't change any of the entitlements associated with the MDA. In fact, there's even a reduction in the overall number of units in the amended village plan. We are just clarifying some of the procedures when the administration is reviewing a potential double frontage lot scenario. We try to work to avoid those, but because of the grades on this site, which the applicant will discuss with you, there were a number of lots that needed to have that kind of treatment. And then we just want to have some maybe some guidelines to protect how that would blend in with an adjacent property that's not double frontage. There's a recommended approval for a grading plan that includes some retaining walls. There's an exhibit in your packet that explains that. And as was mentioned in the work meeting, this amended grading plan will reduce the amount of soil and modification of the natural topography that's in this project, which is, the staff has recommended that that's a positive change. And then again, a change to the village plan itself. Now, with that, staff is recommending a couple of different modifications to the commission to consider. One is we received that village plan, but in the language of the first amendment, it didn't specifically reference that particular exhibit. So we just want to make sure that that exhibit, as it moves forward to the City Council, is proper and identifies all the different elements that will be amended in this amendment proposal. The other is just maybe creating some additional standards. The amendment does talk about how administratively the city can approve these double frontage lots in places where we typically wouldn't on a local street. And so we just identified some issues with the applicant, and it seemed like we were in concert with one another as far as saying, let's find out ways to address what happens with maybe a setback or a fence line when you have a rear yard adjacent to a front yard. Sometimes those fence lines can be kind of awkward, right? Because they have different standards and different heights. And then the recommendation is that we would work with the applicant before we take this to the City Council for consideration, just to include some of those minor modifications. And then just to review overall the MDA itself, just making sure that we don't have creating any further inconsistencies between different exhibits. I mentioned to our applicant that some of the other exhibits have that rectangular shape for the school property. And this is now introducing more of a bubble, kind of a more geometric shape. And so I just wanted to make sure that the other plans are consistent, right? We're just not creating inconsistencies in these different exhibits. So those are the staff recommendations. With that said, I'd like to have with the commission's approval, unless you have any questions for me, I'd like to have our applicant come up and just go through a few slides that illustrates these different changes. Is that okay? Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chase Andreezy here for the applicant. Appreciate Michael kind of just setting the stage and explaining a little bit why we're here today. It's not trying to change any land uses. We're not trying to increase density or change from multifamily to single family or vice versa. We've just been able to really hone in a little bit more on the plan. And as mentioned, that included being able to eliminate a lot of the haul off of a lot of material with this particular village. And as we did that, we recognized that there was some opportunity to swap some land with Jordan School District, who owns 12 acres, almost right in the middle of the project. And they were interested in doing that, but as I mentioned during the work meeting, they're not a party to the development agreement. So the land that they previously had, which is highlighted here kind of in red, you can see the original shape of the 12 acres that they owned. That was not in the development agreement. After swapping property with an adjacent landowner, they received the property that's outlined in purple. A portion of that was the backbone road, Blooming Rose Boulevard. And everything in that kind of tan orange color was previously in the development agreement. So now Jordan School District, who wasn't a party to the development agreement originally, owns a little bit of property that was in the boundary of the development agreement. The owner who traded with Jordan School District received a portion of property that wasn't in the boundary of the development agreement. So that necessitated really the first purpose of this amendment, to just clean up that boundary with regard to that individual parcel. Before I move on, any questions on that? I stuttered my way through that, but really it was an acre for acre swap with Jordan School District, cleaning up the boundary between those parcels that swapped so that the owner who gave up their land to Jordan School District is within the boundary of the MDA. Jordan School District, who received some new land, is totally out of the MDA.
So will you build all of Blooming Rose Boulevard?
Yes.
Thank you.
The second purpose of the amendment was to just address some of the double frontages that are shown here in red. The issue that we had, again, as I explained in the work meeting, when we came in with this kind of new layout and we're able to be a little bit more efficient in the haul off and using the existing topography, the result of that was some of these lots that ultimately ended up being double fronted. As I mentioned before, that's not a primary design principle that we were going for here. It's a lot more expensive to build this way, but it's also a lot more efficient given the topography there. We're able to use a lot more of that natural topography. And as Michael mentioned, are open to looking at ways to mitigate some of the safety concerns and aesthetic concerns of double fronted lots here.
Hey, Chase, real quick on that one. The next to the one that's by itself, the
corner lot?
oddly shaped corner lot that has like quadruple sided.
Yeah.
Is that a lot?
So in current city code, an exception to the double frontage prohibition is corner lots. Another one I think, as Clint mentioned, is arterial roads. Yeah.
I just mean that one and the other one that are right there. Those two that are really close triple fronted lots. I was just curious what the actual buildable area is of those two lots.
Yeah, and if you look at this next slide, this shows what kind of that grading plan would look like for those particular lots.
That one that's more rounded looks like it will be very limited is what I'm
Can
going
I
to say.
draw on this thing? No, I can't, huh? I think I know which one you're talking about, though.
The one right by the note in the middle.
Yeah, what's your question with it, though, Adam?
I'm more just saying, have you looked at the buildable?
Is it a buildable lot?
lot for that one is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
And admittedly, one of the things we've looked at, and this is a preliminary plan, right? This isn't our final plat. One of the things that we've looked at is, can we reconfigure these lots a little bit? As you know, being on the planning commission and seeing these day in and day out, a lot of the times your roads dictate where your lots end up. And that's kind of what we've had here, given the topography and how we've needed to connect those and not have 12% slopes between neighborhoods. So one of the things that we are still looking at is, maybe a reconfiguration of those lots, but.
Okay.
So this is, as Michael mentioned, just the update to the grading plan. The grading plan that was in the development agreement really was just there to say, this is where we are going to do our preliminary grading. We're not coming in, this isn't the final grade. That still will be part of, civil plans that are submitted. This just allows us to come in and do some initial grading and cuts to get to close to what our developable final grade will be. This exhibit, again, was just shown to demonstrate what the original layout looked like for the village plan. As you see kind of in that middle area of Village 4 where that call out is for that area. Behind that is the original school location. And this is now where it's located. And you'll see how those roads shift from, being very straight and rigid to, following a little bit more the topography in that area.
What was the total unit difference? I was trying to, well, you're flipping back and forth between those.
This one is about 50 units less, as shown here.
Sorry, say that again, 50?
50,
50?
50, yeah.
So Chase, just curious, on the double frontage lots where it says Village 4, have you thought about, it looks like there's going to be a retaining wall about right where the V is in Village 4.
Yeah.
So I assume that cul-de-sac is mostly only accessed off of that side, not the retaining wall side.
Yeah, people aren't going to be going in their backyards from that road, really. They're not going to pull a trailer in there or anything.
Except grading.
So I understand you have to have double fronted lots and some triple fronted lots, so I don't have an issue other than when it comes to final plat, I think we need to define that the driveway has to be on one side that you decide before the builder comes in.
Sure, that makes sense.
So, and that's why I'm highlighting that one. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but that one that's very curved and there is technically no side to it.
Right.
I just want to make sure you look at that before it comes back for
And
final.
and that, to your point, Adam, that's where we have the flexibility to say, it is what it is. What can we do now to tweak the layout of the home or put some standards in with regard to fencing or, what side of the lot the driveway's on for the adjacent lot, those types of things.
And that's what I would like you to address when you come back. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up now, for those more interesting triple-fronted sides.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
So almost as an extension of that, the one thing I looked at with the double lots is the orphaned park strip. Is there an HOA setup that can take care, to maintain the orphaned park strip? Or how does, because if it's on the back side of, or what becomes the back side of the double-sided lot, who takes care of the park strip?
Are these public roads in this neighborhood? Or are these private? On that one, we'll have the.
There's
we have
no
an
park,
8-foot
no park strip next to the double lots?
Right.
So it's just fence and sidewalk?
We will have, I think on that, let me go to this one.
Yep.
On that long skinnier one, the very first one, kind of on the northeast
The top one?
side. Yeah, on the top.
Top of the
There's
page?
an 8-foot trail on the back of that one. And then there's another 8-foot trail. Our 40-foot cross-section, if you go back to the development agreement, we have a 40-foot right-of-way cross-section that has an 8-foot trail on one side. That 8-foot trail will be located, I didn't show it on this exhibit, but on the back the top of that lot, which will be the back of that lot. And so we do have things like that that are built in to give some more buffer. But to your point on maintenance, there won't be an orphan park strip on that one.
So there's no park strip, it's curb gutter and then the path or sidewalk, is what you're saying? Or is there,
Yeah.
there's not even like a stamped concrete park strip, it's just,
Trying to remember the
I can't
cross-section off
remember
the
either.
top of my
Yeah.
head. Yeah.
but it sounds like there's no landscaping that would be orphaned and not maintained by an owner, or difficult for
Correct.
an owner to maintain.
But to your point as well, Jackson, that's one of the things that we're open to figuring out, right? It's, like Michael mentioned, identifying additional standards or, some objective criteria to build into this. Because as I mentioned, this isn't our primary design objective, something we just kind of fell into, given the topography and what we're trying to work with. So we're totally open to having those conditions.
Based on
applied here.
our previous kind of preliminary subdivision review, it felt like maybe just adding 2 or 3 little kind of design standards would address this. And so I felt like it was something we could easily address before going to council.
Right.
Will the retaining walls be taller with this grading plan?
So we've been able to eat up a lot of the slope in the lots themselves. So as you see from this plan, there are still some retaining walls, and some of them are still, I think one of them's 13 feet. But if you saw the other grading plan, you'd be like, wow, this is a huge improvement. So I know that didn't answer your question, but yes, compared to what we had previously, this is a huge improvement, both in terms of number of walls and height of walls.
I don't know, that saves you money, but it also, I think it maintains the topography of the site as well,
And that's something
which we want to do as well.
We do as
So-
well,
So
right?
it's a win-win, right?
Yeah. And really what this does as well, if you go and you compare, the way that these lots are situated, they're almost north to south, or east to west entirely. But as you look at this, it actually uses that topography and preserves a lot of the views for these, especially given the topography and the way that they sit with each other, and I think just makes this a better neighborhood.
Will you remind us what the maximum grade is?
Maximum grade on one of the roads, or?
I think they're all under 10.
Maximum road is 10 typically.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think it looks good. More just worried about those few, and that can be discussed later. That's just my opinion.
They look larger than some of the other lots.
Yeah, it's mostly just that. It's this one that I'm talking about. That single with the curve and the triple. It's a double-sided with really no backyard is all I'm trying to say. So it takes some interesting architecture for something like that to actually fit well.
And I don't remember what size that lot, let's look here.
It's bigger.
Yeah.
It's
An
big-
85-foot, it's listed as an 85-foot frontage, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 300-foot frontage because it's the whole.
Yeah.
It
That's
has
That's a premium lot.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the little green
house.
one is concerned, but if you look at the grade right by where that V is, that thing's, it's a mountainous corner.
So I've got a different question here. So we lose about 50 lots in the change. Are those gone forever? Are you looking to bank those for something else?
So as Michael pointed out, the adoption of this village plan isn't part of the development agreement, but we're open to incorporating those changes into, an administrative approval or coming back with another amendment. This was really to capture the change in the boundary with the school and the double-fronted lots. That was the purpose of the amendment. But as Michael included in the staff report, the recommendation to update all of the exhibits, that would be part of it.
So so you're saying it's still open to moving those lots somewhere else within the development?
Yeah, and really, Jackson, the answer to that is until we have a final plat, right? It's hard to give up the lots. But I can also tell you, standing right here, I don't think we're gonna put them back in. As I mentioned in the work meeting, I think these are just, I'm spilling all the developer secrets. More density doesn't always equal more money. right?
Yeah.
Sometimes a
Wait,
better
what?
lot. a
Put
bigger
that on the
lot
record.
Is better.
Is it on the record?
I'll deny saying it. Nobody polls these meetings anyways, so.
And for clarification, it was not my understanding or my intent to recommend that we make that change, the maximum vested.
To reduce the number,
right?
yeah.
Because we know, as we've seen, as developers start working through these projects and start doing real subdivisions, we will see further,
Yeah.
changes in pods, which they will come back to and make those presentations to us.
Well, and
so.
I guess my question is,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's a future request coming somewhere where there's a pod that's not shown here that all of a sudden has a lot more smaller lots, which I'm not necessarily against. I'm just wondering if that's something coming.
No, and, I'll add here, and this is beyond the scope of this amendment, but we are under contract to purchase all of the remaining Rosecrest property as well. And so we're not going to change anything from that, but we'll be in front of you again just to formalize that and recognize it, as part of the Panorama Development Agreement. And so there will be an opportunity there to dive into those discussions. And frankly, when we do come in for that, there will be more detail and engineering behind the design that we can really hone in on some of those details.
Okay.
I just appreciate you guys mixing in, I guess, product types, which is nice. We had another developer a while back where they wanted us to reduce some of our frontages and stuff like that to make how many lots they wanted to work, so thank you.
So I have a question, and it's kind of on the topic of the land exchange and kind of on the double frontage, but not the double frontage you're showing. I asked you this question just before we finished a little bit, but so on, I don't know if it's Blooming Rose Boulevard or if it's what the name is, because it's named two different things on the maps.
By the school.
On
You
the
got
big,
Blooming
the big road.
Rose, or you have, I don't know what the other name
Blooming
was.
Rose is that big backbone kind of road
Yeah,
that winds
you also
through
had
center.
it labeled something else on one of these other maps.
Yeah,
right
this,
there.
we used to call it, what do we call it, Ryan?
No, it's not.
Anyhow, Blooming Rose.
Panorama view.
Oh, Panorama View, yeah.
Yeah,
something
so
like
two
that.
different, one of those.
Yeah.
Anyway, so with that exchange, you've got those double fronted homes along that line. And then you have a steep drop off now as well, according to the topography. So, I mean, I guess I'm concerned, kids walking to school along there, people not paying attention, cars going down into backyards along this double-fronted road. Is there any kind of a landscaping plan to maybe put some natural barriers between the sidewalk that's gonna be along those double-backed roads or something? Because obviously you don't want, like we talked about, you don't want the need for landscaping as well. So what's the plan?
So we've got, I'm sorry, I'm processing your question.
You're fine.
I think the way I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're worried about the drop off from the top of the slope to the bottom of the slope.
Yeah,
with
you
the
got
single-family
you got a
house.
sidewalk and then a drop off in an area where kids will be walking to school, and the drop off is right into people's backyards, and it's off of a main.
It goes the other way.
The other
main
way.
backing
It's the
road.
other way.
Oh,
It's the sidewalk with a cliff up there.
Yeah,
Going up the side.
slope goes
The backyard-
up on the side of the school.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Sorry, that's why I was processing it, making sure I heard it
Gotcha.
correctly, so.
for some reason I thought that was sloped down towards Mountain View corridor there.
Yeah. So, and all of those lots, Preston.
No, it
though,
does slope
they
down,
face
but
to
the
south.
sidewalk would have a retaining wall above the sidewalk.
Houses are higher than the school.
Correct.
These houses are all going to be higher than the school?
Yes.
Yes. There's a knoll right there. The school's in a hole.
Oh, the school's in a hole.
It's a
right
weird little, if you were in the school property, you couldn't see Mountain View.
Yeah.
It's like this big hill.
there. Okay.
We need to take you up there again, Preston.
No, I'm seem to remember, yeah, that little drop in now. Okay. Okay,
Kinda
so
like
yeah,
an
so you
island-
won't
it's almost
have
like
a
an
slope
island in a
drop off
way.
down there
Yeah.
into
From a
those
grade.
backyards. Okay. Sounds good.
Did that answer it?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that,
Okay.
then it's not a problem because there's not a slope off down and it's not just like this abyss where these kids are walking right next to cars going right by them and.
If that was the case, we'd flip the house the other way, right?
Yeah,
So
that was
we
why
had
I
the-
was like, this is gonna be an interesting little area.
Yeah, these will all have walkouts, which will be really, I mean, valuable to those homes to have that walkout view unobstructed.
Can you go back to the other slide?
This one?
Yes, this one. So one of the changes that I noticed on this proposal is that it went from light blue to purple, kind of up in that cul-de-sac area against the mountain right there. Will you just flip back and forth for a
Yeah.
second?
I was doing that to make sure I was
No,
tracking
I love
you
that,
there.
thank you.
What's happening up by the village there? Maybe it's just labels.
You know, a lot of that
Village
is just,
7 is what I'm trying to say.
a lot of that is our own, just kind of internal coloring. But as you'll see there, the numbers are pretty consistent.
Go back and forth one more time. Oh, yeah, the numbers are the same. Okay.
Yeah, oops, sorry.
Your headache's not sufficient yet?
I could look like that all day. That's perfect.
So,
Are we losing?
It's
open
Christmas
space?
time, right? You got slides.
and Heather,
back
I'm
and
not sure
forth
if this
one
is
more
what you're
time.
getting at. Village 2.
Okay, yeah, so with Village 2, my concern is more so if we're putting more houses on that stretch right there.
So what we did to answer your question, and again, this is all internal. This one isn't in front of you for approval necessarily, but we combined Village 2 and Village 9. So it's the same number of units. In fact, that one is, I think,
44 to
we've lost,
259.
between Village 2 and Village 9, there were 2 fewer units in that same area, so. And we did introduce, you can see there's some green open space area. Again, using some more of the natural topography and not hauling off as much material. We kind of have that little buffer of, it's not really usable open space, right, but area that we're not developing on.
So Chase, did we get more open space considerably? Or are we now including the Rosecrest open space in the 172? Because when you go back to your old one,
Yeah.
it was like 115 plus 58. And now when we go forward, it's 172.
That's not that much different. Just a
No,
few
but I'm just
acres.
asking, I know that we're not talking about Rosecrest now. We're not going to be hearing you're going to give us a lot less Rosecrest
No,
there, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to ask.
right.
So really, we're getting a lot more open space. We're going from 58 acres to
Hey.
172. Am I reading that wrong?
I didn't honestly track those numbers when I came into this,
Oh.
and you're asking the attorney to do math on the fly. and
Well, we're seeing on this
not
right
getting there.
here, you're showing Panorama.
Panorama's just 58.
Go back
Yep,
to the
sorry,
original.
to this one.
58,
That's all it says, 58.
58, you go to the next one,
And
Although
now,
wait,
shows
There's two of them though. in that.
172.
Go back to the.
I know, but that's Rosecrest. And
Rosecrest
that's
is
a
the
different
bottom one.
discussion. We're not talking about
Okay,
that.
115,
What I'm saying is,
73.
my question for Chase is, I'm not saying develop open space acre for open space acre, but we're still going to be getting it in the 100 range
Yeah, oh yeah,
when Rosecrest comes in.
yeah. As
So
you can see,
in essence,
every-
you gain a lot, but I don't
yeah,
know why.
everything that's kind of on the south end of the Rosecrest plan, that's all staying the same. The dog park is part of our MDA. We have come to you before on that, or that was our modification, I believe, was part of the dog park. But that plan hasn't changed at all either.
Okay.
But again, there's only the 4 items we're looking at tonight. Great.
So are we losing commercial?
Nope, so the mixed-use area you'll see is in purple, mixed-use / commercial area. And Village 6 is the same acreage. Village 7 is the same acreage, oh, sorry. And down off of Mountain View Corridor on, I can't remember the name of the road.
Down
Kind
by
of on the
Village 3.
southeast corner there is the same size, so.
Because it goes from
Yeah.
36 to 21.
Yeah, I don't think those numbers are correct, because if you look at it, it's the exact same commercial areas. Again, we sent this map not to say, hey, here are the exact numbers and here are the exact acreages. It was more to show just the changes in the school site and some of the topography within those villages. But no, Heather, the intent is not to lose any commercial. It's the same, as you can see, between the two plans.
Okay. I have a question for engineering, but I don't have anything else.
I told everybody I was going to be quick. I was not quick. I'm sorry, guys.
Wasn't you, we kept asking questions.
Yeah, well, they were good questions.
Is there, so that area that I was kind of questioning, the blue that turned to purple, in that area, is there like an emergency way to get out of that cul-de-sac over there?
Yeah,
Is there, like,
and
a
that's not
fire
shown
road?
on here. In fact, if you go to this plan, you can see,
Like a trail.
this one shows it better. There is we've talked about putting that in it as a road. It's kind of shown as an emergency access, but we'll put it in as a 20-foot wide paved road there.
Okay.
Question for you, go to the grading plan. On the 2-to-1 slopes,
Oh, no.
are those okay?
They're okay if, sorry,
A lot of
I've got
those-
a terrible cold.
Yeah.
My voice is bad right now. 2-to-1 is allowed with a geotechnical engineering report that supports it, and then the city engineer has to okay it.
And then with the retaining walls coming in, will those be before the homes? Typically, retaining walls usually are tied to
Yeah,
the
and this-
home. Who's maintaining those retaining walls?
So in this area, we're not developing that area, so that would be between the owner selling that and the builder who's purchasing it.
You're selling a whole pod, is what you're saying?
That pod, we don't own, that's a different owner.
Okay.
But the other pods down in Village 9 area, where it's shown here, or Village 2, we'll be developing those. And generally, obviously, we haven't sold them yet, but we would build those walls.
But long-term, who maintains those? Are those city maintained, public maintained?
The
No,
owner,
yeah,
the owner.
city won't.
If they're on common area, if they're within an HOA and it's common area, the HOA.
That would make sense to me, but I'm more meaning the ones that, by my favorite lot we're talking about.
Within the lot, not.
There's a wall that's owned by 3 people.
Yeah, it would be the
Who
lot
main-
owners.
Okay, but
The city wouldn't be maintaining those.
Okay, but I understand that, but typically you don't share a wall that goes across. If one guy doesn't maintain it, it affects the house next door.
I think each individual owner would maintain his section, if I'm understanding the question correctly, that it's spanning through multiple lots.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm saying if you clog the drains on that, the wall fails and the houses fall down like we saw in Draper. So I'm just trying to understand who's protecting that wall. Homeowners don't know that. Engineers know that.
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that question right now. It's the first
Okay.
I've,
It's just something I think we need to think
that,
about, especially where
probably something to be on our
it's
radar
coming
as we
in
move forward.
first. And if it's built first, then there's sediment that flows into the parts of the retaining wall that get, once they get clogged, then the wall fails.
start causing
That's
drainage
what I'm,
issues. It makes
that's what
sense.
I'm trying to say is somebody needs to protect that during the construction of the home and landscaping of the home, or the wall fails and the houses fall down.
So that's definitely not something we want.
Yeah, we don't want,
Motivated to make sure that that doesn't happen, but.
But we've seen other developers that were personally motivated to not have that happen either, so.
yeah.
Just something to think about where normally we don't have walls like this. So I was just curious, are they a true concrete wall? Is it just the standard Harriman rock wall? Like, those do matter. They're a different type of maintenance.
And where they're, what is it, 4 feet, over 4 feet requires engineering approval, right? I mean, that's, we're on board with that, and
Okay.
that's fully how we anticipate comes time for that.
Okay. I'm just saying that most homeowners, I think that says 12 feet, but I can't tell.
Listen, if we.
That's a 12-foot wall.
12-foot max gravity wall.
Idiocracy, we would be here for hours.
Yeah, a 12-foot max gravity wall,
Yep,
a substantial retaining
that's a
wall.
big wall.
So just questioning. Thank you.
Yeah, where it's along a property line. So somebody's got to maintain it.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Chase.
Okay.
Sit down, Chase.
All right, discussion or motion?
Was there a slide on the motions?
Yeah.
Just to help us? There we go, thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion. You guys good with that? I'll make a motion to recommend approval of item 5.1 with staff's recommendations.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Brody, a second by Andy. Andy?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
And Brody.
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. All right, any commission comments?
No, I made my comments during just making sure we're maintaining the standards and stuff. And I don't know if there's an MDA, when we're in the middle of an MDA, if there's some way, I know I threw out the third party, oversight or something, but when you're working with an MDA and it's different for the cities, I don't know if there's a way we can put more ownership on the MDA owner or the property owners to make sure that the standards are being upheld. That'd be my only comment.
It's always tough during construction to make sure everything
Yeah.
works perfect. I mean, things change, availability of products change, things, stuff happens.
Yeah. That's why if there's somebody
And
there to
so-
help manage that, right, to help guide the process when things do change.
Or attaching our
happens.
approval to the building permit may help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that too.
The approved
we-
elevations that we approve.
Can we do some sort of, like, is there an option for like a fine of some sort if they vary from it?
Them having to show up tonight.
Yeah.
Gave them.
Because I'm not saying this, I'm not saying this home, or this
cost them
business owner necessarily did it nefariously, like, he said, no, this wasn't intentional, but that's not, but what it exposes is the potential for it to be.
We could do a little more research. I mean, like I said, I have found that the culture of development here in this city is just different, but I'm not saying that I don't think it's really intentional. It's, for example, a lot of commercial development in other cities may be just a permitted use, right? They don't have to go to the planning commission and get an approval. It's just based on building codes. And the kinds of things that they were changing weren't necessarily a violation of the code, but it's in an MDA, had a conditional use. There's an expectation of it being figure A, not figure A prime. And, we just want to make sure that everybody understands what's happening here and
I would,
get that modification approved if it's necessary, right? So, but we could, like I said, we've already been talking internally about how we can address this issue.
and I would say the fact that it was caught and it was brought to us is indication that it's working.
Yeah. And
I
a
wouldn't say
zoning,
there's-
a zoning inspection and occupancy, that is standard. We've been doing that. That's typical. The problem is when you catch the problem like this, at the very end, it's just painful for everyone.
Well, and
And so that's why we've been talking about, is there some interim measure that we can do to try and catch these before it gets
well,
to the
us
final?
trying to legislate against contractor idiocracy, that's even harder than.
Yeah.
So I would say we can't legislate it out, but I think what we're doing is good. It came in tonight, we got to see it.
It's always a balance. I mean, we want to be a good, welcoming city.
Yep.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how to maintain our standards, so.
Michael, what did we do with that daycare that had the windows that weren't right? They had to fix those, didn't they?
So they changed out from, it was a commercial grade window to a residential grade because there was a supply chain issue.
Okay.
And that's the one over in Anthem. And again, Anthem approved that modification. None of the window patterns changed. It was just the frame. And so it was decided that that would not be a significant modification to come to you.
Okay.
So, but, yeah, we did communicate, like, don't make that kind of change on the hotel, because it's the same group.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So regarding the Panorama discussion today, and I know this has nothing to do with what we reviewed today, but I noticed that the connectivity within their layout has degraded significantly. And if we could have someone with the city look at their proposed site layout now as to what it was prior when we did the MDA, and just look at, you know, how much it has changed, because there's some cul-de-sacs that don't meet fire code. They're over 30 units to a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, and we're aware of that, and they will make.
I just don't want to get
accommodations
them
for
all
that,
the way down the road.
No.
And so that, you know, they're doing all their surveying, they're doing all these things, and then they
Yeah.
come to us and say, sorry, we can't do anything, it's the topography, this is the way we planned it out, sorry.
Yeah,
Like-
we've been already addressing that issue with
Okay.
them. And again,
Perfect.
I think you're gonna keep seeing little iterations of
Yeah, and this isn't the final one, and that's fine, I understand that. The first one wasn't the final one, that's fine, understand that, but what we don't want to do is go from something that looks very connected to something where you just have cul-de-sacs everywhere, with the excuse of topography only allows us to do cul-de-sacs.
Maybe
And
adding
then
some,
roads that don't connect.
That is for sure.
some trails connecting some of those cul-de-sacs might make it more walkable, if there's some ways to get some trails
trails
in.
will help, but I mean,
Yeah,
if you have to drive 2 miles to get out of your cul-de-sac just to go to your neighbor's house that's behind you, like, that's just ridiculous. Like,
yeah, but if there's a connecting walkway that you can walk up, there's, you know.
yeah. I know,
It might be a
so-
significant up at 2-1, but.
That's like just putting a small Band-Aid on, if we can catch it now and make more connectivity, because it's not just the walkability, it's also getting out of your neighborhood to go somewhere else, not just to your neighbors, but to go somewhere else. Like, do you need 50 cars going through one intersection to get, you know, and having just that choice, especially on a hill?
Yeah, just shorter
Where
intersections.
there's fire, like,
A car is stuck
possibilities,
rotating
like.
its tires on the hill and no one can get in.
Well, yes, no, that too. I just want us to think ahead and make sure that the city's reviewing that and that they keep that in mind. And it's not just, because I can just see them just changing it and going, oh, sorry, topography doesn't allow it.
Well, but we currently also don't have that requirement in the MDA. I mean, so,
But they do have to get sign off from fire code, so we should be okay.
yeah, fire code, yes.
Okay, our next planning commission meeting will be December 3rd, and the next city council meeting, December 10th. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Oh, you got it. Okay.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.